Hello, and welcome to Genealogy Coffee Break, brought to you by us, the genealogy librarians at the Center for Jewish History. My name is Moria Amit, and I'm here with my colleague J.D. Arden and other library staff. Today, we'll show you how to find living relatives you've never met. During today's episode, feel free to send us your questions via the comments box and we'll answer them live. If we don't get to your question, or you're not watching live, you can always email your questions to us at gi@cjh.org. If you have friends or family who are interested in watching this program, please share it with them. We're curious to learn a little bit more about our audience, so please write in and tell us where you're watching from today. Who will find this program worthwhile? This series is intended for a general audience. Beginners and advanced researchers are welcome. You don't need to be Jewish to find our research tips useful, and we always focus on free online resources that anyone can access from home. If you're a member of a community organization, school, church, synagogue, please ask us about our free group workshops, which we make available via Zoom. Or write to us and suggest a topic for a future episode. I'm going to be answering 3 questions today. How can I find the names of living descendants of a specific ancestor? Once I found the names of living descendants, how can I find their contact information? And lastly, how can I cast a wider net? So starting with the first question, how can I find the names of living descendants of a specific ancestor? So you want to first start with the most recent deceased ancestor on your family line of interest. Then, search death indexes to find specific details about that person's death. Please note that the death indexes are usually the closest proxy you can come to an actual death certificate. State and local laws may limit access to recent death certificates to the deceased's heirs or their immediate family. And lastly, search for obituaries, funeral home and cemetery records, and probate records to find the person's next of kin. And I've highlighted obituaries here because those are the easiest to access online. So where can you go to search death indexes and obituaries online? I have 3 major recommendations here. First, FamilySearch.org. On this site, you can do a free international search of death indexes and obituaries, including the U.S. Social Security Death Index. The Social Security Death Index is the most comprehensive index to U.S. deaths. It contains information on all individuals who received a U.S. Social Security number and passed away between 1962 and 3 years before the present. So right now, that would be 2017. Next is deathindexes.com, which essentially provides a list of links to free and paid death indexes and obituary databases by U.S. state. And lastly, obitsarchive.com, which is the largest online U.S. obituary database. It is not free, however, the site allows you to pay per article view. Many of the links that you'll find on deathindexes.com will lead you to either ancestry.com or ProQuest historical newspapers, which are paid subscription databases. That being said, many public libraries, including the New York Public Library, are currently offering their cities or counties' residents free access to these databases from home using a library card or a new electronic library card. Check to see if your public library is participating in this program. Once you've found the names of some of your living relatives, how can you find their contact information? So there are 2 major components to this process. First is probably the most familiar one, which is to search for a person in phone number or address directories. So I've given you a few examples here. If you're looking for someone's phone number or address in the US, you can try sites such as 411.com or whitepages.com. If you're looking for a person who lived outside of the US, anywhere else in the world, then I would recommend going to thisnumber.com, where you can select from a drop-down menu of countries and find out the websites for a particular country's phone number and address directory. That being said, not everyone's phone number is listed online. That's especially true for people who only have a mobile phone number. And address listings can be outdated. So you may need to move on to the second component here, which is to search for the person's online presence. You may think that it is unlikely that you'll find your ancestors online, but I would like to assure you that there's a good chance that you will. A person may be findable online for any number of reasons, whether they were featured in a local news article, took part in a legal or property matter, or were mentioned on a website pertaining to their employer, their alma mater, or an organization they may have been involved with. Also, many people are joining social media sites like Facebook.com, which allows anyone to be able to find them and reach out to them. According to a 2019 Pew survey, 7 out of 10 American adults use Facebook. So that's a 7 out of 10 chance that you're going to find your relative on Facebook. According to Internet World Stats in 2020, 3 out of 10 people worldwide use Facebook. So with that in mind, I'm going to do a demonstration of how you would go through this entire process, starting with a particular ancestor and moving toward how to contact one of those ancestors' living descendants. So I'm on the site familysearch.org, and I'm going to go ahead and type in the name of one of my great aunts, Ida Ruggiero. I know she was born about 1916, so I'm going to enter a plus or minus 5-year range, 1911 to 1921. And I know she at least grew up in New York, so I will put that as one of the places where she's lived and click search. Okay, so right away I see that her name shows up in the Social Security Death Index, and we get some basic information about her death, including her last place of residence, her exact birth date, her exact death date. So that could be useful to try to find other records related to her death. But I notice right away the second entry here is actually her obituary, or actually a summary of her obituary, which was posted in the Queen's Examiner shortly after her death. And luckily for me, this index includes the names of her spouse and children. If that information were not present here, then I would need to see if that particular newspaper was available online, or if not online, then reach out to the public library of the city or county in which the death occurred to see if they have copies of that particular newspaper. So let's say I wanted to track down and get in touch with one of her children, Marilyn Dima. So the first thing I would do is go to google.com and put her name in quotations, Marilyn Dima. Now, obviously, that's her maiden name, her married name. So just to clarify who I'm looking for, I'm also going to put in her maiden name, Ruggiero. And right away, the first entry here is from a realty website. And we see that in 2008, Marilyn Dima sold a property in Queens, New York, and her address at the time was listed as Comac, New York. So perhaps she's moved since then, but it's another clue that we can use to try to track her down today. So now I'm going to go back to google.com And again, look for Marilyn Dima in Comac, New York. And it looks like we're in luck because there are a whole bunch of phone directories that list a Marilyn Dima living in Comac, New York. So I can click on whitepages.com, for example, and find that out. If I go even further down, it looks like there's a profile that she created on facebook.com. So another way I could reach out to her is to send her a message through Facebook. So that just goes to show how easy it is to find one of your living relatives. The person doesn't have to be famous. They don't have to be wealthy. There's a good chance that you're going to find at least something about them or somebody in their household. Okay, so finally, I want to talk about what to do if you want to cast a wider net rather than focusing on a specific branch of your family, as I just did. If that's the case, then the best thing that you can do is submit a sample to one of these 4 major genealogy DNA testing companies, and specifically to order an autosomal DNA test, which is also known as the cousin finder or family finder test. And that test is designed to find relatives on any of your ancestral lines within the last 5 generations. For those of you who are not scientists out there, autosomal DNA refers to the 22 pairs of non-sex chromosomes that are found in the nucleus of every cell, and they are inherited equally from both parents, so you get approximately 50% from your mother and 50% from your father. It's important to keep in mind that this test's level of accuracy steeply declines for any matches beyond the second cousin level. This is especially true among Ashkenazi Jews and other ethnic groups that were, until fairly recently, endogamous, which means that they married almost exclusively within their own group for centuries. In addition, this test cannot distinguish between matches from your mother's side versus your father's side. So therefore, it cannot be used in isolation. In most cases, you will need to gather some genealogical information, such as comparing common surnames and ancestral towns, to confirm the exact nature of your relationships with your autosomal DNA matches. Once you've received your test results from one of those 4 companies, there's a site called Gedmatch.com, which you can use to find genetic cousins across all of the major DNA testing companies. Gedmatch.com is a free tool that allows users to voluntarily upload their test data from any of the DNA testing companies to identify potential relatives who have also uploaded their data to this site. In 2018, Gedmatch.com gained significant media attention after it was used by law enforcement to identify a suspect in the Golden State Killer case in California. Due to mounting pressure from civil liberties groups, since 2019, Gedmatch has required people who upload their DNA tests to its site to choose whether they consent to law enforcement agencies accessing their information. If you have questions, please write to us now in the comments box, or you can always email us later at gi@cjh.org. I'd like to thank you all for watching and participating today. For updates on this and other Center for Jewish History programs, you can join our email list at bit.ly/cjhe-news. If you enjoyed this program, we hope you will consider making a donation at cjh.org/donate now. Your donations, even as small as $5, will allow us to put on programs like this while the center is closed. Thank you for your generosity. Please join us next Tuesday, same time, 3:30 p.m., for the next episode of Genealogy Coffee Break. Until then, stay safe and be well.